Okay. So these videos were uploaded, and I had asked you to watch the first two parts and do that installation and setup of Python as well as VS Code on your PCs. So I'm hoping some of you have done. If you have not done, then please do this before watching today's video further, and so because today we are going to discuss, or not discuss, but we are going to go through a small exercise, some set of questions that I will ask you to do in the class, so that you get a little bit of hands on, and it should, the course should not be like where I'm showing you some magic tricks and things are happening, and at like when you are sitting at home idle, you like you're not in practice basically to do things yourself. Okay, so if that setup is done, so I'll give out some questions. What you have to do is, I'll tell you what exactly needs to be done. So if your setup is ready, if it is not ready today, no issues, because I'll not do the second set of questions today. We'll stop before that. But if it is ready, what you have to do is you have to solve that question, okay, whatever that question is, and I am more interested in the code part, okay, whatever is written in this code block, or if you are doing it in your, let's say, terminal, in your command prompt, or in your if you're using Mac by any chance, then in your terminal, if you use IPython like this, whatever code you are writing, okay, I'm more interested in that. Okay, so 5, let's say the code is 5 plus 5, 10. So I'm more interested in this, whatever inputs you give. Okay, I'm not interested in the output. So that part you have to copy, and you have to go in the chat, and within the chat you will get the option of one-to-one or direct messaging. Okay, like you select my name, you select trainer 7, I think that's what my name is currently. So select that and only send that code to me. Okay, you know how to copy, right? Just highlight and right click on your on your mouse, and it will get copied, and then go to the chat and paste it directly to me. Okay, that's how this has to go, even in the future. Okay, so I'll be waiting for like probably 80-90% of you solving it, and then I will also solve it myself, so you can check. And if I have to point out some, like if I see someone's response is not okay, I will point out myself that, and if I feel that you'll be good with the solution, looking at the solution, then it's fine. Okay, so with that, just to give a very quick recap, in the previous class we were talking about variables, why we need variables, and how to create variables, and when you put like a variable name and put a equal to sign and put a value after that, basically that value gets assigned to that variable. Okay, and anywhere in future, instead of using the value directly, you can start using the variables. Okay, so that is why variables are important. And then we discussed a little bit about the different types of objects or different types of data that we generally work with, and we discussed the 4 fundamental types of data, that is your integers, floats, strings, and boolean values. Okay, so that is all what we discussed in the previous class. Now let's move on and do some questions. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, so in this one, let me write down the first problem. It's a very simple basic problem. If someone by any chance, okay, one more thing, for today's class, if someone hasn't done their setup, okay, there's a alternate option. You can go to internet. I'll give you the website actually very quickly.
Amit?
Hmm.
Sir, Actually, last class you have shows us an example of investment, if you remember that.
Yeah,
So, so
yeah.
that day,
If you bear with me today, we will do that only.
no,
Okay.
no, no, no.
Yeah,
What happened during the last class only? have written a code. Okay.
yeah. No issues. Today
So,
we'll work with that only, with that
okay,
example. Okay.
okay.
So I'm putting for those who don't have who haven't done the installation or who don't have IPython running on their PC, just go to this link. Okay. Today I'm going to give very basic problems. This link will open something like this. Okay. So here you can just get rid of this code, okay, whatever is written here, and solve that problem here and click on the run button and you will get your output. So give whatever you've written here, I'm interested in that part. Okay, copy that and put it in the chat. Clear? Okay, so this is the first problem. um, so we recently talked about variables and how to create a variable and how to assign a value to it, right? So I've shown an example here and I've discussed that example in these 3 points. So here is the main task that you have to do. Very simple task. You have to create a variable savings, okay, and assign a value of 100 to it, okay, and in the next step you have to basically just go ahead and print the variable savings. Okay, very simple task, most basic. Please go ahead and do it and paste it in the chat. Okay. This is a very basic question, so I'll also start doing it with you. So the question is to create a variable savings and put it equal to the value 100, okay, and then you have to print savings. Okay, if you run this code, you'll get 100 as the printout. Very basic, simple problem. Let's look at problem number 2. Okay, so in the next problem, what you have to do is, if you remember the older problem that we were discussing about the investment problem, right? So let's say you remember how we calculated the amount that you ended up with after 7 years of investing $100 at 10% return every year. This was basically the code that we wrote, but now we have already created a variable called savings, which represents the investment amount of 100 in the last problem. In this problem, I want you to create 2 more variables. The first one is growth multiplier, okay, and that should be equal to 1.1. And if you want, you can convert the number of years, that is 7. Also you can convert that into variables, okay, years, and the final result should also go inside a variable result. Okay, so this result variable should be equal to this calculation in a way. Okay, not this exact calculation, the calculation that you will do using variables. Okay, and finally you have to print out the result. Okay, you're done, so I will also do it. Okay,
सर मेरा वाला ठीक है क्या?
अभी पता लग जाएगा, खुद ही आपको पता लग जाएगा जब मैं करूँगा. ठीक है, तो savings, the variable we had already created, right? So now basically we had to create like 2 more variables. The first one is growth multiplier, which was equal to 1.1, okay, and then years also we could convert into a variable, in our case that is 7, and the final result is equal to savings, okay, and savings is multiplied by you can put this part in a bracket, that is growth multiplier raised to the power of years. Okay, so that's our formula, and finally we had to print the result. Now I don't know why this is happening for you. Some of you are putting spaces in unnecessary places also. Okay, everywhere you don't have to put spaces. Okay, to like sometimes spaces do help, they make your code more readable or more understandable, but in other places they can make it confusing also. Okay, like I've told you this, that how to call a function. Your function name is there, and then within the brackets you give your input argument. Okay, but some of you are putting a space here. Okay, don't do that. Okay, that's wrong. Okay, even though the code might work, because historically in Python version 2 things were, I think it was like this only, and they did not use brackets there and things like that, but this will give you an issue. Okay, like if someone is testing your code in an interview kind of a situation, they will reject you for things like these. Okay, so don't leave that space. Okay, unnecessary spaces भी नहीं डालने हर जगह. So function calling, always the brackets stick to the function name. Okay, so if I run this code, this is the answer. Okay, this is what we had to do. Clear? एंड ये अननेसेसरी कहीं पे कैपिटलाइजेशन और ये सब चीज़ें भी मत करना. ठीक है, जहाँ पे लोअर केस है वहाँ लोअर केस ही रखना. ठीक है. Okay, now another very basic problem we have to do, that is so in this one we, like I'm just discussing here in these points, that we created two like till now we have created two variables in these two different problems, two types of variables actually. Either we have created float variables, or we have created integer variables. Okay, but we haven't created two more types of variables, that is strings and boolean. So I want you to quickly create those two with these in these tasks as I've explained. This is going to be your variable name, this is going to be the value inside it again, and then this profitable is going to be your second variable name, and this is the boolean value that's going to go or represented by that variable, and then you have to print both these variables. Okay, one by one. So very simple problem. Okay, you had to create two more variables. First one was simply ci. Okay, and it stores a string value, compound interest. Okay, and the second one is profitable. Okay, profitable basically stores the value true, which is a boolean value, and one by one you had to print both ci. Okay, and the second one profitable. म्यूट कर लेना यार. Okay, okay, so now when you look at a code like this, and when you look at a printout like this this sort of is not really good. Okay, this is very layman type of way of writing code. Generally, like when you're dealing with money, or when you're like, since we are discussing money and savings and all those type of things, let's take the example of, let's say, your banking app, or when you access your bank account using internet, okay, on your browser. So what happens is, these details are generally written in a much nicer way, okay. Like it is written that savings account balance is this, then your interest for the month is this, okay. Like these are written either with statements or in proper column formats, where like two words are written in front and then the value is written and so on. So it is written much more nicely so that people can clearly understand that what a particular number represents, or what that value is, so that people don't get confused, okay. So let's say I wanted to print out a more natural looking line that people can understand, something like, I started with, let's say, $100, okay, and now have, okay, dollar, and whatever the result is, in our case it is 194.871, whatever, okay, and then a full stop and something like awesome, okay, something like that. Let's say I wanted to print out, because this would make more sense to a layman person, okay. So let's say I wanted to, instead of printing out simply what is the result, I would want to print out a much more natural looking statement, okay. So in our case, if I just copy this code, okay, and I try to do that, okay, I will say something like a string, because this portion will go in string. I started with dollar, okay, and then I will have to say plus savings, then plus, and now have dollar, right, then I would say plus result, okay, and then it will be a full stop, space, awesome, okay, fine. Now when I try to run this code, okay, I get an error, okay, and it is a type error. The type of this error is type error, okay. So it says, what does this error say? It says can only concatenate string to string, not integer, okay. So what are we trying to do here? We are trying to say that this is a string, and this savings variable, we know from our past that savings variable is a integer value, right? So basically we got an error for that part, that we are trying to add, or we are trying to concatenate a string with an integer. So if you remember, probably in the second class, I told you, second or third class, that Python is a very strongly typed language. It cares about the type of the data that it is working with, right? So it knows that this is a string, and it knows that this variable is basically an integer value, and when we try to do any operation between them, I mentioned the word 90. I can even go back and show it to you. I mentioned that 99.999% it will fail if the two different values that you are trying to run any operation on are not of the same type, okay. If it is a string and integer, that particular operation will fail, okay, for most operations, okay, because it is a strongly typed language. It cares about the type of data. And if you look in this example, that is exactly what I am trying to do. And similarly here also, again I have a string, and in the case of result is a float value. Okay, so even for float and string, something similar might happen. So in these kinds of scenarios, what should we do? Okay, is the question. So basically, in these kinds of scenarios, you do something called type conversion. Okay, so you have to convert the type of one data into other, which is whichever conversion is more logical. In that case, whichever conversion will help you achieve the end goal more easily, whichever conversion makes sense, that conversion you should do. When I say make sense, it means that if I try to convert this string into an integer, does it make any sense, right? What would be the integer value of such a long, like of a statement like this? Okay, it's English letters, English words, right? So what would be the integer value? There would be no integer value of that. Okay, so it does not make any sense to convert that into an integer. So the other conversion possible in this case is to convert this integer into a string. Okay, that is a conversion that makes more sense, right? So similarly in this case also, converting this float into a string will make more sense, okay, instead of the other way around. So how can we do it? So all the different types of data that we talked about, okay, here, these four types: integer, float, strings and boolean. These names that you see, short notations, int, float, string, bool, these are also the names of the functions, okay, associated with these types of data that will help to make logical conversions from other types of data into this type of data. Okay, so in our case, we have integer data and we want to go into string data. So our function name will be str, and obviously the open and close brackets, and in the brackets we will give that the savings variable will become our input argument. Okay, just like the print function, all these are also functions. Okay, the name of those functions is same: int, float, str and bool for boolean. Okay, so let's see how we can use that in our case. Okay, so I will rewrite I will comment the wrong statement. Okay, I'll copy it and I will rewrite it correctly. So I'll highlight this, put it inside brackets and mention the function name str in front of it. Okay, so string function I've called it. Similarly here again I will mention str. Okay, so ठीक है ना, फंक्शन वाला ही, फंक्शन की तरह ही मैंने इसको लिखा है. ठीक है, फंक्शन भी ऐसे लिखते हैं हम, जैसे यहाँ पे प्रिंट फंक्शन लिखा है, यहाँ पे जैसे प्रिंट फंक्शन लिखा है, तो ये फंक्शन का ये तरीका होता है. जस्ट टू reiterate, how do you call a function? You will put function name and in the bracket you will put your inputs. Okay, so here the function name is str and the input is savings. Clear? Coming back, now if I run this code, it runs properly. Okay, why? Because the savings, this 100 got converted into string, and even this number, this float value got converted into string. Clear? So this is what you call type conversion. Okay, so now I'll ask you a quick question. Okay, so you have to
one doubt here actually.
yeah.
you're converting integer function into string function. So every string will be mentioned in single
Can you
inverted
repeat
commas
that
and
statement?
or double inverted commas.
Can you repeat that
Is
statement
my
again?
voice is not?
No,
Yeah,
no, I
every
just want you to
string will
repeat.
be determined in. Yeah, you're calling the integer
Hmm.
function in the string. You're using the keyword str.
I am calling the string function
Yeah,
on
you're
the
yeah,
integer.
sorry. On the integer.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. Correcting my sentence.
yeah,
Okay, sir.
yeah. Hmm.
You're calling the string function on the integer. So every string will be determined in the single columns or double columns. So when we calling like this,
That
it
does
is
not
not
matter,
required.
right? That does not matter. Okay.
So we are explicitly saying string, so that doesn't matter.
No, no, no. Even in like, even, you know, when you are creating a string, if I'm creating the string with double colon, okay, it is just how I'm creating the string. Okay. How
Yes.
it is stored in the memory, वो एक different चीज़ है. ठीक है.
Okay. Okay.
This time while creating a string, I decided, it was my mood, so I decided I'll put single quotes. Okay.
Okay.
So, but in the memory, the way this is stored or the way this is stored is same. Okay.
Okay.
और मैं आपको ये चीज़ दिखा भी देता हूँ क्विकली. Like if you create something like ABC with double quotes and I hit enter, you see the output, it is with single. Even if I do it with single quotes and hit enter, again it is single. Okay.
Can we put str and open brackets and put ABC?
Yeah, but that does not make a difference. This will give me an error because ABC, it will try to find that as a variable. Okay.
Okay,
So
it tries to find that variable. Okay, okay, got it, sir.
yeah.
Okay.
So in the memory, it is stored with a single quote only. By the way. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to show you a few statements, code lines, okay, or you can say strings or whatever you want to call them. You just respond in the chat with the ones that you feel are correct. I'll give you 4 statements A, B, C, D. Whichever you feel that this code is correct and this will work properly without giving any error, only for those you mention that option in the chat that this is correct. Okay. In one message you type it directly to me. Okay. And you have to do it try to do it without actually writing the code in your shell. Okay. Just do it by looking at it. Okay. Whichever ones you feel are correct. All these options one by one. Okay. So in the first option, it's pretty straightforward. It is just something that we just did. Okay. So it's obviously correct, no doubt about that. Now let's look at this second option. Okay. I'm seeing that no one has said this is correct. Okay. But let me tell you that this is correct. Can anyone tell me why did they feel this is not correct? Or this won't work?
A string is multiplied by integer.
Yes. So you are seeing, as I told you, an interaction or an operation between a string and an integer type of value, and as we've discussed that this can create issue, but it can create issue 99.99% of the time, not 100% of the time. So in this case, if I do this and if I run it, this is the response that I get. Okay, so it works without any errors. So this particular string value hey got multiplied by 2 and we got 2 hays here. Okay, and finally this hey, and this is the final statement that we got. So as I told you, like some logical or some very logical operations, okay, had to be allowed. Okay, like what is the other logical way you would accomplish this? That if you had a string that you wanted to print out multiple times, okay, if that same string, if you had a use case where you have the very same string and you want to print it out multiple times or 100 times, like there is no other logical way this could have been done. Okay, so these kind of logical things, okay, where it would not be efficient to make it happen some other way, those kind of operations they have allowed. Okay, but these kind of operations are very very minuscule, very very small in number, and that is why 99.99% of the time these kind of operations won't work without type conversion. But there is that 0.001% chance where these kind of operations are allowed. Fine, let's look at other options also quickly. Yeah, this one, C, some people are saying is correct. Okay, but it is not correct. Obviously it will give you an error. If you run this line as it is, it will give you an error because you are trying to add a string to a integer. Okay, although you can make it correct by converting this integer into a string by using the string function. Okay, but currently this is wrong. Okay, Sai, you clear on this? Okay, then there is the fourth option, which is true plus false. Okay, now some of you might wonder what does that even like what sense does that make, but let me show you what is the result of that. Okay, so if I say true plus false, the answer that I get or the response that I get is 1. Okay, why is that? So basically in the background or in the memory, Boolean values have like a net value. Okay, so true has a value of 1. Just if you've studied digital in your, like if you've done BTech, and in BTech if you've studied the subject of digital, you will know this, that if you've studied AND gate, OR gate, all these things, you will know that true means 1 and false means 0. Okay, so basically you are just doing 1 plus 0, and 1 plus 0 is 1. Okay, that's why this worked. Fine, any doubts?
No, that's when you're talking about like 0-1 conversion, OR gate, AND gate, digital logic design, right?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that
But,
was the
answer, but-
yeah, please.
And so it's very interesting that you have mentioned that you just made the example, no? The second one, hey into start to. I don't know this option. That
So sorry,
this
my
is
voice
supposed
has.
to be work.
I want to understand it.
Huh. Yeah, please
that-
go ahead. Any one of you.
Yeah, for this particular example, it's pretty interesting for me. Like,
Okay.
hey, start to. So, to whatever I put, if I put 3, it will print thrice, right?
Yeah, obviously. Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
but it has to be
Sir, can
integer.
we put hey plus 2? What will happen there?
Hey plus 2.
Yeah.
What happened here? What happened here? Same thing will happen.
Concatenate.
Yeah, you'll get an
Okay.
error, right? That's a
Yeah,
different
it's not
operation.
string. Okay.
That's a different operation
sir.
you're trying to do, right?
Okay, we need to keep in mind what are the operations we are going on using, including the strings. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Moving on, let's start a new topic today. Okay. So before I start, okay, you remember that initially in this topic, what did we do? We tried to, calculate the BMI, okay, of one person, right? Okay, so we tried to calculate the BMI of one person, okay, at one time. If I wanted to calculate the BMI of second person, I went and changed the values in my code and I got the BMI of that second person. Okay, so let's say that beforehand I have the weight and height values of 4 people. Okay, so to rewrite that code, what will I have to do? If I go back here itself, if I create a script, okay, or maybe I'll create not a script, but I'll create, since we are starting new topic, I'll start with that. Okay, so I have 4 values, that is till now whatever knowledge we have. With that, if I try to solve it, what I'll do, I'll say weight 1, whatever the value is, okay, then similarly I will create 4 height values, okay, whatever the height is, 1.5, and okay, so this will be height 2, height 3, height 3, height 4, right, and see control V, okay, so and same way I have to calculate my BMI. So BMI 1 will be equal to whatever the formula is, okay, let me copy this and put it here, right, BMI 1, BMI 2, BMI 3, BMI 4, okay, which will deal with weight 1, height 1 and so on. But I believe most of you are now looking at this and thinking the same thing, that is this how we should write code, right? What if we have to calculate the BMI of, let's say, hundreds of people, okay, so this way will start to fall short, okay, and similarly then I will print, right, 4 values of the 4 BMIs, right, so if I had the BMI value, if I had value initially, even before starting, I had values of 4 people, weight and height values of 4 people, this is the code that I would write with the knowledge that I have till now, okay, so very soon you will start to realize that this way of writing code is not going to work. So what's the problem with this code, and like if I want to solve this problem, what should I really be focusing on? What do you think will help me solve this problem, or what is the problem in this code?
That's basically saying changing parameters here are weight and height. So we can keep a variable variable there, sign saying that weight can be anything, height can be anything. If I try to print the BMI, all that values and print the BMI. Means I don't know about
Yeah.
practical how we do this, but theoretically that could be the thing.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Sir, can I say something, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, actually, the way we are doing right now, whatever knowledge we have, okay. So if we assign multiple variables, so it will run slow. It will assign variable, and we don't know how many people we need to calculate the BMI and the weight. For example, someone have a requirement of 5, someone have a requirement of 6. Okay. So every time it's very difficult to mention the 6 variable you need to declare. Because as you mentioned from the initial class, program should be transparent to everyone in the team, right?
Yeah. So if I look at thanks for that. You want to add something more, Pritam, to that? Okay.
Yes.
So basically, please go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
So basically, if I listen to both your responses, what you're what you're trying to say is that if I'm having 4 values, I'm creating 4 variables. If I'm having 10 values, I'll create 10 variables. If I have 100 values, I have to create 100 variables. So that is not how code should be written, right? So at the end of the day, to solve this problem, very simply what I need is I need a single variable that can store or represent all these values at once, right? I think that very basically, if I try to put it, that is what we want, right? We want to name a collection of values with a single variable. Okay, so that is where something called lists come into the picture. Okay, so lists in Python can solve this problem for us. Although there are other things also, there are other ways to solve this problem, but list would be the primary way to solve this problem to a great extent. So what does it do? This basically lists allow us to have a single variable, let's say weight, and have multiple values equal to it. But how do we write in a way, you can say, how do we mention that in code? How do we write those multiple values so that they can be stored inside a single variable? So what we have to do to create a list is, number one, we have to have square brackets on both sides. Okay, within the square brackets you will mention your values. Okay, and when these values are being talked about in the context of a list, these values are not simply called values, they are called something called elements. ओके, ये लिस्ट में डालने के बाद एलिमेंट्स बन जाते हैं. ओके, लिस्ट के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जब भी बात करेंगे, वॉट एवर अ लिस्ट कंटेन्स, ओके, these are elements. Okay, this is element 1, this is element 2, element 3, okay, and so on. D होगा तो element 4. So you can store hundreds, thousands of values inside a single list, and within these square brackets these individual elements are comma separated. Okay, you have to put commas in between. Clear? This is how you define a list. This is the code that you write. So let's quickly look at a very simple list. Okay, so this is a list that stores heights, for example. So I'll create a list. The first value is 1.73. okay, the second value is 1.68. let's say the third value is 1.71, the fourth value is 1.89. okay, so if I within the square brackets, it is just square brackets, not any other type of bracket, only square bracket, remember that. And all these values are comma separated, and it makes it look good if after the comma you leave one space. Fine, so leave that space so that it is more readable and understandable. Okay, so when you run this list is taken as an input. Okay, and how do you put it equal to a single variable? You put your variable name. Let's say in my case I'll this is the these are the heights of all the members of a family, let's say. So I will say fam is equal to this list. Okay, and now when I in the next line I say print fam, okay, the variable fam, this prints out that list. Clear? Any doubts till now? Okay, so what can lists do for us? Very simply put, lists
Can you say as a list is a array, one kind of array? Can you say that? Oh, it's a different thing.
Yeah. Array is a word that is used in other languages for a similar thing. Okay. So yeah, it is used in other languages. So better not to use that word. List is lists in case of Python. So yeah.
All right, sir.
Yeah. So what can lists? What are lists? So lists can name a collection of values with a single variable, number one. Number two, that we haven't discussed till now, that is they can contain types of data like floats. In our case, when we created this list, it is containing all values are float values, as you can see, or all elements are floats, right? But they can also contain Boolean elements. All elements can be Boolean, integers and strings also. Okay, then in this case what is happening is all the elements are floats, but we can have a single list which can contain different types of data together in the same list. Okay, so in the same list you can have maybe 2 types, 3 types, 5 types, 10 types of data in that same list together at the same time also. Like you can have one string, one float, one integer, one boolean all together. Okay, so different types can go in together inside a list also. Okay, so let's create one such list. Okay, so I'm creating fam, and let me just show it to you so that I don't have to type it out. Okay, so one element is a string. The second element is float, again string, float, string, float, string, float. Okay, so basically these are the name of the family members whose height is this value. Okay, so Liz has the height of 1.73, Emma has the height of 1.68, mom has 1.71, dad's height is 1.89. Okay, and still, like if you want to check, just like we were checking the type of data for floats, boolean, integer, strings, similarly we can check the type of fam also. Okay, which stores this list inside it. Okay, so this is a list. The type of fam is, or type of this variable is list. Clear? Any doubts till now? Okay, so now as I just said in this statement above, that it can store different types of data together in that same list. Now I just showed you that obviously these elements you can clearly see, this is a string, this is a float and so on. and I showed you that this whole thing is also of type list. Okay, जब मैंने type of fam check किया तो this is also a type of data list. Okay, so collectively this is a list and this is also one of the types of data. So going by this logic, if a list can store floats, booleans, integers, strings and so on, why can't a list store another list inside it as an element list? Okay, so let me show you a list of lists. Okay, so we're talking about a list of lists. Okay, so again that same fam, okay, is equal to a list. Now this is going to be a longer list, so you can even write a list in multiple lines. Okay, so you can just hit enter, and in the in the first line I will write my first element list, which contains further two elements. Okay, the first element is Liz, second element is 1.73. Then this element list, I'm done with the first element list. I'll put the comma and hit enter, and I will write my next element list, put the comma, I'll write my second element list, comma, and finally the last element list. So I'll just save some time, copy these inside the element lists. Okay, understood? This is the last element list. So if you want, you will not get an error if you put a comma, but no, not required. Okay, so the element lists are separated by a comma. So just to show you, let me give it a different variable name. Let's call it fam2. If I check the type of fam2, quickly run this, it is a list again, and I can even go ahead and print. Let me do it in the next cell, fam2. Okay, so this is what it looks like, okay, in a single line. I could have, while creating it, I could have also created it in a similar way. एक ही line में I could have created it. Okay, but this is like just a little bit more readable. Okay, that's why I wrote it in multiple lines. Any doubts till now?
Can you give me a use case for this list of lists, or is it like related to dictionary, or like just confused?
No, not related to dictionary. Dictionary थोड़ा सा अलग चीज़ हो गई, but obviously there could be multiple use cases, like how shall I put it, like let's say you are dealing with multiple devices, okay, and you want to store all the interfaces of every device in like every device has multiple interfaces, gig 1, gig 2, gig 3, gig 4, okay, and you want to process all that data for multiple devices. So some devices have 2 interfaces, some have 5 interfaces, some have 10 interfaces. So all those interfaces are also inside a list, and you want to do some processing on that. You want to maybe print it out in a tabular format or store it somewhere. So very easily you can get into that situation, okay, list of list वाली situation में you can get into that. Okay, probably we will also end up using it somewhere. I'm not sure at this point, but ऐसी situation बन जाती है list of list वाली.
Okay, so like when you get one of the interfaces output, so you can store that in like in a list of lists so that it will be accessible.
maybe like let's try to take an example. Let's say you are receiving your device names from some other location, okay, but you are receiving that as sequentially, like first is router 1, second is router 2, third is router 3. Okay, this information came in from somewhere else. This has to be strings. Okay, now you are getting your interface data from somewhere else, let's say. Okay, so first router has multiple interfaces, probably gig 1, gig 3 or whatever. Okay, I'll just copy paste this. Okay, in this case it is 2, in this case let's say it is gig 4 or whatever. Okay, these are the interfaces, let's say, where IP addresses are configured or something like that. Okay, now you want to do some processing, and like we can pick a simple example, but I don't want to write that whatever processing code right now because it will only confuse you, but some processing you have to do, like probably print out a table saying router 1 something like device. Okay, this is one of the headings. Second heading is interfaces, and under this it will be like router 1, and under this it will be both the interfaces, gig 1 and gig 3. Okay, so let's say you are creating some Excel sheet or something like that, and you have this kind of data, but at the end of the day you want to create it in a table, either in the terminal itself or either in the Excel sheet or something like that. Okay, तो इस तरह की चीज़ों में बन जाती है लिस्ट ऑफ लिस्ट्स कई बार. ठीक है,
Okay, thanks sir.
एनीथिंग एल्स? Okay, so let's do whatever we've learned till now. Let's try to do some practice problems based on that. Okay, and when it's time we'll close. Okay, so first problem is I'll copy this, paste this. So what I'm doing is you have to create certain variables. Okay, it is 5 variables you have to create. So beforehand I'm putting that in the chat. Okay, you can copy it and like create it in one go. Create these 5 variables in your shell. Okay, now once you're done with that, you have to create a list called areas. Okay, and you have to basically create a list with all these variables. Okay, so you have to create a list areas, and whatever order I have given, in that order just put all these variables inside the list and then print it out finally. Okay, somewhat like in this manner. Okay, first you will create a list using the above variables, and then you have to print the list areas created in the above step. Fine. Okay, so I'll also do it quickly, you can check. So you first had to create all these variables, okay, like this, and then in the areas list you had to just put all these variables simply, nothing much. And then finally print the areas list. Okay, this is what it looks like. So I hope you all were able to do this. Now moving on to the second problem. In this one you have to modify the areas list, okay, and what you have to do is, in that same list you have to add some more strings. Okay, you have to add some string elements in that same areas list, okay, right before the proper, like right in the proper locations, like the variable hall represents the area of hallway, so it has to go like hallway and then hall, which is this variable. Okay, then kitchen and kit, then living room and live, bedroom and bed, bathroom and bath. Okay, so you have to do it in that order. Anand, didn't you get an error when you tried to run that code?
No, actually, the IPAM there is some process is running. Actually, Jupyter is getting installed. So is even yeah, I got the error actually. It says a syntax error.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you ran
So-
right the program, I just got to know what mistake I did.
Okay, then fine. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
So I forgot to start the recording. So in this one, you just have to look at the three options of lists A, B, C, and whichever you feel is not correct, based on that, or whichever you feel are correct lists, the Python code or the way the list is created is okay. You can just select the options that based on which ones are correct. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, try to do it mentally without writing code, but if you want you can write the code. Okay. So I guess most of you are done. So the answer is option 1, A, B, C. Okay, all of them are correct. Okay, some of you had doubt on C. So even if it is an operation, it's no issue. Whenever you are going to like save this list inside a variable, or you want to use it further, the operations will be done by then. Okay, before the Python interpreter is going to save this in memory. Before that, it will conclude all the operations, find out the result, and that resulting list will be stored in the memory. Okay, so option 1, all of them are correct. Okay, now let's look at the fourth one very quickly. So again, this problem is about lists of lists. Okay, the it is in sequence of these two problems only. Okay, so here what you have to do is basically you have to create a list of lists. Okay, and you have to name it house. The variable name will be house. So we already created these variables, right? Hall, kit, live, bed, bath. Now, and then we also added the strings accordingly, but they have to be converted. The the structuring has to be done in a way that you create a list of lists, like hallway and hall. They will be part of one element list, and so on for kitchen and kit, living room and live, bedroom and bed, bathroom and bath. Okay, and that you have to put it, that the resulting list will be called house, and you have to print out house, and I also want you to check the type of house. Okay, fine.
Sir,
Yeah,
hello.
yeah.
Today, till what time the class will be?
Yeah, yeah, this is the last one. This is the last one. We'll stop after this. Okay.
Actually, I have to join the
Yeah.
office. I have a night shift.
Okay, okay. But I'm just closing. If you
Please do not mind, sir.
you can leave. You can leave pretty much if you want. Okay. This is the last one. Sure.
And sir, I'll try to inform Gaurav to add this video in my list, in my in my profile.
No, no. Yeah, you have to ask him to add
All right,
this
sir.
course to your profile. Okay.
Mhm.
That would be the correct
Okay, sir.
ask.
I'll drop
नहीं तो वो
an
कुछ और कर देंगे. ठीक है.
I'll drop a message to him. Let's see.
ये वाला जो
नहीं
कोर्स है ना,
नहीं
वो
ठीक है सर,
वो
ठीक है सर,
कोर्स
थैंक
ऐड करने को बोलना.
यू। एक मिनट, ये प्रोग्राम में देख लेता हूँ। Finish the
हाँ,
list, show that it contain background at the print house. सर ये प्रॉब्लम थोड़ा
इसको
समझ
छोड़ दो. ये फर्स्ट लाइन को छोड़ दो.
नहीं
जो
आया,
मैंने बोला उस पर फोकस करो.
मतलब
वो एक लिस्ट ऑफ लिस्ट बनानी है उसी डेटा के. ठीक है, ठीक है. ये अपनी जो एरियाज लिस्ट है ना, जो हमने अभी बनाई थी, ये वाली यहाँ पे, ये.
हाँ 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 हाँ
ठीक है, इसको लिस्ट ऑफ लिस्ट्स में कन्वर्ट करना है. ठीक है,
लिस्ट ऑफ लिस्ट में कन्वर्ट। ओके
तो ये हॉलवे और हॉल एक एलिमेंट लिस्ट में होने चाहिए. ये एक एलिमेंट लिस्ट में, ये एक एलिमेंट लिस्ट में, ये दोनों एक एलिमेंट लिस्ट में, ये दोनों एक एलिमेंट लिस्ट में. ठीक है ना. जो फाइनल लिस्ट है दैट विल नॉट बी कॉल्ड एरियाज, इट विल बी कॉल्ड हाउस. ठीक है, आपको हाउस भी प्रिंट करना है और आपको टाइप ऑफ हाउस भी प्रिंट करना है. गुड. तो कुछ नहीं करना था. यू जस्ट टेक दिस एरियाज लिस्ट. ओके, first of all call it house. Okay, and you have to create it into a list of lists. काम करना था बस. ठीक है, and this also you can like put it in different lines, which will make it more readable or understandable or whatever. Okay, and then once that is done, you have to print house, and I wanted you to not just get the type of house but also print the type of house. Okay, so print type of house. So if you realize what is happening here, type is one function, okay, which is being called, and that function itself I have put inside as a argument or input to another function, print function. Okay, so if I run this code, this is the output of the list itself, and this is the output of this line of code. Class list does not make a difference. Basically this is a list only. Okay, class list is basically how you have defined that object. Okay, class यूज़ करते हैं कोई ऑब्जेक्ट को डिफाइन करने के लिए, ठीक है, तो उसमें कंफ्यूज नहीं होना, बट सेम चीज़ है, it is a list only. Okay, clear? Okay, if no doubts, then we can wrap up for today. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
okay.
Okay, sir.
Good night, sir. Bye-bye.